think we are live. So, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Sacred Justice Podcast. I'm really hoping that we are live. You guys, you know, I haven't figured out this whole Zoom thing yet.
Did say we're live.
It did say we're live. Perfect.
Mm.
Well, welcome back to Sacred Justice and welcome if you haven't been here before. This is where we expose darkness through divine light. My name is Tara Blooms, and this is where true crime meets spiritual commentary. So I'm glad to have you here. Just to let you know, I had a great interview last week with Lori Vallow Daybell's brother and uncle. So if you haven't checked that out yet, it's in my live section. There are two men that have gone through a lot with their family through this whole Lori Daybell debacle, but they were really kind to come on. We had a really great conversation. And prior to that, my debut show was with an attorney, Tony DeWitt, and we spoke about the Karen Reed trial and the importance of spiritual justice and why this case has captured so many. So check those out in my live. I would say the most watched videos are from a person that I befriended a few years ago, Megan Walsh. She is the daughter of America's father, John Walsh, from America's Most Wanted. And there's some really awful things going on with her and her family. She doesn't have her children. She hasn't had her four kids for years. Her parents took them away. So check those out. Those are in my history. So just wanted to mention that for all of you newcomers. But
Mhm.
today we have an intriguing guest here on Sacred Justice, and her name is Nancy Orlen Weber. And Nancy is an author, she's a nurse, she's an animal communicator, a gifted psychic, she's a medium, medical intuitive. You're a holistic health practitioner. Nancy, you've done so many things. You've authored three books: Soul Detective, All Nature Speaks, Conversations with Pets and Wildlife, and the subject of today's show, The Life of a Psychic Detective. And that chronicles criminal cases that Nancy has worked on, and it includes explanations of techniques that she has developed, which I think she'll share with us, or at least some of them. And Nancy is one of the few psychics that has received honorary police badges and a sheriff's commendation. And I know, Nancy, you've been featured on several documentaries, right, on TV, and you've made guest appearances on other shows as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And here you are appearing on Sacred Justice. So welcome.
Thank you, Tara. And I love the idea that you are doing something about putting together the two because it's
Mhm.
not justice isn't just had in the courts and not always, right? We know that.
Mm. Yeah.
But exposing it to the divine light uh, teaches people so much. When I first saw even the title,
Mm.
I thought, well, yes, it's what I say to people. You can be an armchair sleuth. As long as you are a sacred messenger, you may change things. You may bring it to the light, and that's enough. Sometimes that's all we've got.
Yeah.
So many unsolved cases. And when you mention, if I may, John
Yeah.
Walsh,
Hmm.
family, and Megan, when Adam Walsh was missing,
Mm.
John turned to a man who out of Bergen County, New Jersey. And I'm not saying the man's name, well, because he never wanted to be known.
Mm.
He was the world's hired by every country you can name, including Interpol, for missing persons.
Wow.
Military hired him. He worked for the sheriff's office, and I was blessed to have met him on a task force we worked together early on in on a missing, well, not missing, but an unidentified body of a girl who was somewhere in the teen years.
Okay.
Because we worked on that, through a man I worked with finding three missing children, I
Hmm.
want people to understand how connected life is,
That's so funny.
right? It's
Right.
all connected. So we were all working a task force on this unidentified girl who was finally identified 40 years later, by the way.
Mm.
However, before DNA, obviously. And anyhow, John Walsh went to him when Adam went missing, and he was the instrument behind everything. He never would let anyone write a story about him, talk publicly about himself. He had zero ego involved in
He
everything.
was a psychic medium as well. He had the
No, he
Oh,
was a detective out of sheriff's office in Bergen County, New Jersey, who trained the man I worked with
mm-hmm.
find that I found three missing children. I pointed them out, etc. Documentaries on it. So
Mm-hmm.
anyhow, years go by, and I heard he was retired, this man, and that for whatever reason, I wanted to interview him. I am the only person ever permitted by him to have an interview.
Wow.
I taped it, and I still have the audio tapes,
Oh,
terrified to translate them into anything else.
oh no.
But he didn't want public to know. He simply, Lou Masterbone was the sheriff's investigator out of Morris County, where I had lived. And Lou was the one who was trained by him on missing people. And when the woman whose three kids were stolen by an ex-husband
Mm-hmm.
against court order, before computers to another state, etc.,
Yep.
there was no justice.
Yeah.
But it took, and because it's all the divine light. So it took Lou hearing that I actually can tell him things that it took them forever to discover about it without knowing it, and then tell them other things that helped out, details where they could have proof of what I said,
Mm,
and they didn't have it before, right? It took all that for him to know it was real. And Nancy Grace did an interview with both of us and others
I
on
know.
cases. Right. And so all of it was connected, though. My point was that even when during a divorce, I needed a room for mediation,
Mm-hmm.
none in a courtroom. I went down to sheriff's department where I was, asked Lou. He gave us a judge's chambers because judges loved him. On the children's missing case, a judge risked his judgeship to make up the first bench warrant in New Jersey for a felony on abduction of children because he trusted Lou when Lou told him a psychic gave me where he's at.
And you were the psychic.
Mhm.
Wow.
So divine light, when you said that,
Yeah.
it's all about bringing everything to the light, and what's meant to happen will happen because we're not in charge.
We're not. We think we are half the time,
We'd
but
like to be.
we'd like to be. Sometimes it feels like we are, and then you get smacked upside the head and you realize I have nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
Wow, well, we didn't know. You didn't know that I was going to mention Megan Walsh. We didn't ever talked about this. I didn't know there was a connection there. Never heard of this man. That's really quite amazing. And that's really true because there was no justice with the Adam Walsh case. He was found a couple weeks later in Eastern Florida. His part of his head was found. And yeah, but Megan brought forward some pretty amazing stories about that. She has an amazing story. I won't get into that here. Like I said, I've done 3 shows with her. She's everywhere out there. I think she even does her own show now, but she still does not have her kids. So it's a tough family that it's a
Wow.
tough story to hear, considering we grew up with this, we grew up with that show. And it's just, yeah, it's a really tough story to hear. So tragic, a lot of tragedy in that family.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there would be. There's so much fallout in trauma, and we
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, not to that level. Not, thank goodness. You know, I don't. The gentleman I was speaking of, you're probably familiar with the Lori Vallow Daybell case, the big saga. Oh
I
my
don't,
God, she's got
I
a
don't,
trail of murders behind her. She's like a murdering murderess.
I'm very careful not to look at anything except what I'm doing.
Good for you.
And so I attempt not to look at anything that I might get involved in because I never discuss ongoing anything.
You told me that and
I,
loud and clear. You only discuss adjudicated cases that you've covered, and you don't want to talk about things that it could be current. Because I know that I had mentioned in our email there's a cold case going on in my, I'm not far from me at all. Um,
Hmm.
but that's just me wondering if I should cover it, or talk about it. So, but I respect how you do things.
I think if you're going to discuss it openly, it's really important not to mention names of anything other than the victim.
Mm,
Family, not friends, not persons of interest, unless they're plastered all over the news. But even then, there can be liability, but it
mm.
can also be dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm waiting for the cue. I'm waiting for a cue from the universe to see. I've put it out there and I kind of wait to see so that I know it's not my ego wanting to do the story. It's more like you need to do this kind of thing. So,
You're good. You're
yeah.
so good.
Yeah, I'm just waiting and it's not happening yet, so it may not happen, who knows. But your story begins yourself with you yourself being a victim of a crime by, of all people, the man that you were married to and the father of your unborn child, and how horrifying that must have been for you. But we do live in a world of duality, don't we, Nancy? So you got to experience the other side of it as well.
Well, in truth, I didn't tell all the other crime victim happenings to me before that.
Oh,
And so I think I was ready to just break open and really let anyone know you touch, you're in trouble.
yeah.
And so that was the final straw for me.
That was the final straw. Okay. So yeah. So do you want to just tell that brief story? I know it's in the beginning of your book, but a lot of viewers may not know who you are and haven't read your book yet. I have a link for your book, by the way, below. So if anyone wants to go right to Amazon and get her book, The Life of a Psychic Detective, you can just click on the link below.
Thank you, Tara.
You're welcome.
Uh, Dr. Gilbert Arnold Preston had a 2-year fellowship, and we lived in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, because the laboratory was 10 minutes away, and the fellowship came from military body, the National Institute of Health. So he was a Navy lieutenant commissioned for 2 years. 6'3", he walked in, just his normal crazy whatever moment in life, and decided he didn't want children anyhow.
All right.
But oh well. And I have no idea why he got angry or what
Just
happened.
snapped.
Right. But he snapped and he strangled. And what I did, I call it Brooklyn came out of me. I went, you got seconds to live and you got a baby. What the hell are you doing? Go limp. And so I just dropped limp as if I
Mm,
had died, and he let go. And I fell to the ground, but in falling, um, I protected the belly
yeah.
carefully as best
Mm,
as I could. And 10 minutes later or so, I got up and saw him standing in the kitchen drinking, whatever. I have no clue. And he was in shock that I got up.
mm,
Warned him that you should never sleep again because there'll be a knife in your heart. And I meant it, but I
yeah.
couldn't get off the island.
So you stayed with him
Well,
after
I had
that.
no choice. No phone, no car, no money. Women, women's rights did not exist
Yeah.
back then or at all.
It's hard
Try
to
and get it.
imagine.
There weren't credit cards anyhow at that point.
Wow.
Bank account only in his name.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. It's a man's world. I have no comment about that, other
Yeah.
than to say, if my present husband ever said that it was a man's world, he'd be out the door.
Mm.
It's that simple. It's like, well, no, he's praying that women take over the world. He said, because we've ruined it. I go, yes.
Oh. Hard to argue with that in some ways, yes. Um,
I've been to death row twice,
uh, have you? Wow. Yeah.
and 95% of incarcerated are men.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. I don't know how you slept a wink of sleep after that incident, knowing that your husband wanted you and your baby dead.
Comfortably, because I knew um, there was one incident prior to that in which I need him where it hurts most, and he dropped to the floor. He
Oh.
should have understood
Mm.
that Brooklyn learned how to take care of oneself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't piss me off.
You're a tough broad.
Always was. Always was. Had to
Yeah.
be.
Mm,
Nobody would hear. So people who are watching, I want them to know if you're not heard by anybody else,
mm,
that's great because the solution is you're going to take care of yourself better because you have to depend on yourself. And you may as well because life will not always give you, as one person said about a birthday, where she said, "Why are you so sad?" Nobody was there, right? I was alone.
mm,
And that was okay. But I was, and she could pick it up. She walked in for a moment and gave me a card. And she said, "You know, you have to be okay to be alone."
mhm.
And she was right.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to get up and leave, which I did as soon as I could
Mhm.
after we moved back to New York, the Bronx. I had to wait for a weekend when he was on duty as a physician, where he wouldn't see what was going on. And when he came back, I kicked him out
Mm,
easily,
good for you. Wow.
celebrated.
Yes, definitely. That was a launch for you, right? That launched you into a whole different part of your life.
Oh, I was, in a way, women have to learn how to sometimes walk on eggshells in order to get to the point where they can make a difference in their own life,
Mm.
right? We've learned that. I think men do too. They think we're complaining. Um, So I have my own comments about all that
Yeah, yeah.
comes from, but it's because I've looked at so many crime cases, and most of them, not all, are against women.
That's very true. That's why it's hard for us to go out at night and walk down the street. It's not something that most of us will do, and a lot of men don't understand that we can't do what they do.
No, in today's world, you have other things. But when I worked in the South Bronx, the highest crime rate in the country at that time,
Hmm.
and I worked an acute psych unit, I parked my car and I had to go across the street, just cross the street. I had keys in
Yes.
hand.
Between your fingers. Hmm.
Right. I didn't know if I would have the courage to do or hurt anybody.
Yeah,
I knew if I was scared, you'd be hurt.
right. Yeah,
You're
yeah,
just going to be hurt, so you better not scare me when I'm walking with
I'm
keys.
telling you. And you know what? Because of all this explosion of true crime, women are more afraid than ever. And maybe unrightly so. I don't know the world is as dangerous as we think that it is because of all of the crime that we see on shows. It's become sensationalized, as you know, and it's become exploitive. It's also become entertainment. And I think part of the reason, and I have to admit, I'm part of that. I was being entertained by the Karen Reed trial, and despite someone losing their life, and I want to hear about the stories that you helped because there's something about it that does entertain us, and it's a sad statement to
Wait a
make.
minute. No, I'm going to disagree somewhat.
Okay,
Not all of it.
that's okay.
One, I never watch real crime, ever.
Mm,
I've watched my stories once on each documentary, about a dozen or so, and Nancy Grace once. That's plenty for me.
mm.
I watch mysteries, I watched um, forensics and stuff, but all I think of the writers
Action
who
based.
write them, the research texts,
Mm,
the talent, and I break it all down. But I love um, not real when it
yeah,
comes to that.
yeah.
Ever exposing to the light, to the divine light,
Hmm.
what is going on does several things. I know that there are cities in our own country where the rate of crime has gone down over 60% due to more understanding,
Oh,
and
okay,
others have
great.
gone up, up, up,
Mm,
right? And so we do know that there are methods, and it all comes from who we choose. One at the very bottom, who we choose, how we raise kids, and all that. And we
mhm,
know that. And so, for all of us who have had any kind of abuse, which is the majority of people, men and women,
mhm,
we know that you go one end of the spectrum or the other until you get back to balance.
mhm.
So getting back to balance, like the scales of justice, is the same thing.
That's right.
Getting back in balance is everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always understand for myself when I worked on a crime case, if I got back early enough that day, I would take a shower, change into very feminine clothes, feed my kids, and go out dancing
Mm.
if I could, if it was appropriate at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I had to balance out the horrors.
Okay. Wow.
I never in my dreams ever saw the horrors.
Mm-hmm.
Result of knowing that you've got to do things that are very creative for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, using your inner discovery in a fun, playful manner, because that's
Yeah.
the part of you that's innocent.
Right.
And if you don't balance it, you are going to think your whole worldview is going to be, oh my God, and your
Yeah.
adrenals go and your adrenals go. And I
Right.
know mine went because of all I was a crime victim too often,
Mm-hmm.
but I also then saw so much of it, and that really impacted the adrenals. But I thank my first nursing teachers taught me the word holistic, and
Mm-hmm.
I've been that ever since. Ran a nonprofit in holistic health education, etc. So I've always known I have to come back to balance, even if it's serious, serious, serious.
Right.
So for those in sacred justice, you're going to be meeting eventually Richard Pompelio,
Mm-hmm.
whose son Tony, one of his children, was he heard a young girl scream. I think it was her boyfriend attacking her or whatever, and he came to help her, and the guy killed him.
Oh, yeah.
He was 17. And Richard's a lawyer who left his practice to open up New Jersey Crime Victim Law Center.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful human being.
Yeah. I'm excited to meet him.
And he walks in the divine light and looks for sacred justice all the time and knows you don't always get it in
Yeah.
courts. You get it maybe in life. So I have
Right.
introduced him and everyone to the organization that is founded by a couple who lost their child. They don't care how you lost a child. If you are an adult who had a child who's now on the other side, helping parents heal, I highly recommend anybody who's lost a child under any circumstances at any age join. It's
Yeah.
free.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have conferences, etc. So I know a lot of the people in it, and what I find is mediumship, which is part of what I believe
Mm-hmm.
just can occur, and I'll share that with you
Mm-hmm.
that way. A lot of people who've lost loved ones can be, that's an incentive to do mediumship. And
Wow.
everybody can be a medium. There's nobody who can.
Right. I totally agree with
I
that.
know you do. That's why when I read your stuff and I went, oh, she's so good. She's so there. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, I've been looking at this stuff for a long time. And I found you just, I think, randomly, quote unquote, maybe not so random. But you've helped law enforcement track down missing persons. You've helped them find murderers. What are some of like the biggest cases that you remember
Oh,
that that helped, the police actually solve the crime?
sure. So let's see. Okay. Well, before they had immediacy in a small town, I guess, small town, I don't know. This was in New Jersey. And a woman came to me, first name Peggy, and she looked like she had just been through the ringer as a client. For,
Hmm.
and I didn't know it was emergency. I don't schedule my sessions, somebody else does. So she sits opposite me, and I immediately had this overwhelming feeling of sadness and horror. I said, you just lost somebody very close to you through a horrible situation. So she started crying.
Mm.
And in between tears, she said, yeah. And said, family member, yeah. Sister, yeah. I said, okay, what would you like? She said, I need your help. They are looking at, and it was like 2 days or a day later. after the event. And she said they believe it's her boyfriend.
Ah,
Whether it's what you call psychic, intuition, whether you call it vision, mediumship, it doesn't really matter to me. It's all the same, right? It's all one bunch,
mm-hmm.
just soul. And so I said, it's not him. He's, would you speak to the guy? I said, sure. So it turned out, oddly enough, that Captain David Heater was the head of the prosecutor's office in that small town.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I had worked together 5 years before, so I knew the name, but I didn't remember what we did at that time. Didn't matter. And I said, oh, Captain David Heater. Okay. Just tell him it's me and see if he can call me. So he did. And he said, would you come out? And I said, sure. So, of course, you have to be a bit of a risk taker and not care about having enough money to pay rent or mortgage or food on the table or anything to do some things that I have done.
Okay.
Never cared. Drop everything, go. So I went and we went to this apartment building complex, I guess. And so her apartment was the first floor, and then up above there was another apartment. And so you go through the crime scene tape, and on the first floor, on the left is the door. I'm standing there. I remember looking up and going, the killer lives right there. And he looked at me and said, nope, there's nobody there except a woman and her 19-year-old son. I said, it's not the son. The other guy lives right there. And his last name is Reese.
Wow.
He said, John Reese? No, no, no. We already looked at him. I said, he killed her. He said, no. I said, okay. So drop it. You need proof, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without proof, it's just words. And so we go into the apartment. And the first thing is the living room you walk in. And it's pretty empty. It has a little furniture, but in the corner to the right, the far corner right, stands a vacuum cleaner. And I go over to it. I said, don't talk to me, which I am always thrilled. I'm an introvert. I'd rather sit in a corner at a party than
With a vacuum cleaner.
it's my friend. So I go over to it and I'm going, there's something about the vacuum cleaner that has to do with the killing. Um, where's the cord? Mm. And they looked at me and I said, the cord, that's what was used. They don't say a word.
Mm-hmm.
We go through to the bedroom. The blood's still everywhere. I can still see it.
I'm
So
sure.
part of vision is your pineal gland, by the way.
Yeah.
And if we store things, if men are listening for a moment and you know women who you're close to, however you're close, you know we have videographs in our brain, women. We can cite everything.
Yeah.
Remember what you did 7 years ago when you said this to me? So that's part of it, I think, is just that how we store things. So I go there, and next thing I do is I see what happened to her and how he tied her up and um, raped her and killed her with a hammer. And I go, a hammer. So I said, I'm ready to go back to your office. So we go back to the office, and I tell them everything I see. I sum it up. And he's looking at me. He said, yeah, but it's not John Reese. I said, does he have a Western belt buckle? And does he have a scar under his right cheek? No. I said, go back and look. Now, David and I had a very unique thing, and it relates back to John Walsh.
No kidding.
Right. Because that was the task force I was on with Captain David Heater.
Okay. Amazing.
the connections.
The connections. Who knew? We had no idea.
But that's how life goes.
That's
I
so
believe
interesting.
the more you are in synchronicity, the more you're in your soul, and so is
Yeah,
everyone else who comes
that's
through
amazing.
with you, right?
Yeah.
And so that is the divine light working between everyone.
Mm, amazing.
And so with David, I felt like I can say anything I want. And he's the only person I ever argued with on a case.
Mm. What year was this, by the way, Nancy?
Don't remember, 1980 something.
Okay.
There are videos on it,
Hmm.
documentary, and David's on them. So it, Jerry Lewis was the name of the polygrapher who there's a letter from him on my website that he wrote. 23 years he had never been wrong except this case.
Hmm.
So one of the things I told Dave at that time was a feel I got about time. So part of this is in some of my books, Soul Detective and I think and Psychic Detective. I create what I call the inner detective. So
Yes.
I asked
Mhm.
myself, what time did he do this? And I imagine I'm talking to her, whether I'm really talking to her or not, even though we don't know until proof.
Right.
So I pretend I'm talking to her, and she said, I don't know, I was asleep. So I knew she was asleep.
Hmm.
Okay. And I said, well, you were asleep around 11 or so? She said, tired. So it was later than that.
Hmm.
Okay. And so I looked at the bed when I was there and I felt his presence came through a window, I thought, and big enough for him to come in. And I closed, I would imagine what time. I'm asking the bed what time.
Hmm.
And I got about 1:30, something like that. And they said, no, no, it was about 11 something. And I said, nope, you're wrong. Again, David, you're wrong. Go back and look at him. So he did. And I think Tommy something was the guy from the state itself. They were working together and they both looked and saw the belt buckle and the scar and went, whoops.
Wow.
And he looked at his notes, David, at that point and said, don't you remember telling me about John Reese 5 years ago on the Princess Doe case, the unidentified body that was found? I said, yeah. Oh, right. Well, he's a serial killer. We don't know because he ended up, um, the polygrapher said they only asked him till 11:30 what he did. They never asked
Not
him,
beyond.
right.
Hmm.
When autopsy came back was 10 days later. And they had thought it was the boyfriend. And I said, absolutely not. But because they had seen the Western belt buckle, right, and the scar on the right cheek, and that I had mentioned him 5 years before, they brought him in again and they questioned him till 2 a.m. questions.
Mm.
A polygraph on a video that I have seen, and he fully confessed.
Oh, wow.
He just sat back. I was in shock because they gave it to me right away and said, you have to see this. I said, what? They said, watch. So they said, so what did you do then? He said, well, and then I went and I killed her.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Right. I mean, the video was being shot, two of them in the room, Captain and Tommy.
That never happens.
Well, it's happened several times. That's the very funny part. So that's
Yeah.
where fine light comes in, I believe.
Yeah.
But I also believe if you're not supposed to get the answers, you're not getting the answers.
Hmm.
You're not the one.
Yeah.
And maybe if you're the one, you become too egotistical. And maybe if you are right often, you better watch that ego,
Right.
right? You said
Yeah.
it. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love what you do because you say it so clearly.
Hmm.
And I hope everyone gets that. There is a thin line you walk as a psychic.
Hmm.
An odd piece, getting a call one day, years and years ago, about a woman named Rose who was on a boardwalk giving readings to kids, apparently.
Mm.
Um, and these teenagers called me and said, she said, when I asked her if I'll ever get married, she said, don't worry, honey, you're going to be dead before 20. Right. And I'm saying, what are people thinking?
Wow. Wow.
Being psychic does not mean you're a good person.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you are doing service at all. It
Hmm.
could be big ego. I've met people who came from another country who wanted to uh, be part of a group with me, and I read who they were. One, my turned around and looked at them and said, "Get out of this country now before I report you."
Yeah.
So when you look at things, you have to have a code of ethics,
Hmm.
mission statement, understand that this is all sacred work.
Yeah.
You need to treat it that way. And I've had people just shout out because they think they're good at something. Oh, that person will be dead soon. Or, and I know one who's on the other side, very popular, very famous, said that on my TV once about somebody. And I would never
Mm.
talk to that person.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with what you do. And
But it's the same thing as being anything else. Think about it.
yeah.
I mean, look at you. I want you as an example. You already understand because you're interested in true justice, right?
Hmm.
Where does it come from in you?
Somewhere deep.
Right. But why? Why bother? Why not just, I call it, some people don't want to expose themselves to anything that might be touchy.
Hmm.
Why? It's all fear driven or love driven.
Yep.
There's only two things that exist.
Well, it's definitely coming from the love side, not the fear
Right.
side.
Right. But that gives you a wide breadth of understanding and compassion and caring and thoughtfulness and just knowing you're not going to say anything that you don't self-examine to see if it's appropriate. So we're not all perfect by far. And when it comes to my my relationship with my husband, who is as tough as I am, tougher in certain ways, that I look at and go, you're manipulating. Be quiet. So I'm not so perfect there with that. I don't
Yeah.
care what to say to him sometimes. And I know I have to watch that. That's part of my growth, no matter what,
Yeah.
to say. But psychic work is soul work.
Hmm.
It comes from the Greek root word psyche, Psyche. And when they translated it into English, it's kind of like the Lord's Prayer. The word evil is non-existent
Hmm.
in any other language except English.
Huh. Interesting.
Aramaic, there was nothing like it in Aramaic. Evil means live spelled backwards.
Yeah, that's right.
That's all it means. So if they were attempting to say you committed a murder, that'd be one thing. But
Hmm.
no, in Lord's Prayer wouldn't be saying that.
Mm.
Mistakes and errors that everyone commits.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I had someone comment on my last because the last guests I had were LDS. They're part of a religion, and
All
this
right.
channel is I welcome anyone and everyone who wants to listen in and tune in. But my this isn't I'm not coming from a religious standpoint.
Mhm.
It's a spiritual. When I say divine light, I'm speaking of the spiritual light. I know you know this, Nancy, but for someone had said, "Oh, I know that you're a Christian." I'm like, "Well, I'm actually not a Christian. I don't mind that you call me that, but I'm not. I don't follow any religion. It's too, but God, it's too big to put in that box of set of rules and regulations. I can't do it. But if
I'm
that's what you
going.
believe, that's perfectly fine. I know so many people that works for them. But here I'm talking about divine light, meaning, what are we here for? What are you doing? Is this a calling from God? What is that murderer's reason for doing it? Just delving into questions that other crime shows are not touching on. And I don't really know where I'm going with this yet. Like I said, I'm just kind of following the crumbs, and seeing what divinity gives me and what the universe leads me to.
No, I worked with acute psychotics and long-term psychotics
Yeah.
in South Bronx, the
Hmm.
psych unit, experimental. We didn't hardly ever give meds, and we made miracles. I'd love a separate chat with you about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can both look at everything about all that we do, and
Yeah.
psychology and psychiatry, because I've worked
Mm.
on them since I'm 10. So I hear you, and for me, it's the same thing. I've had questions like, "Are you a good Christian?" or whatever, and I go, "Mm, we." I don't know if you know history, but I wasn't raised with anything. I was raised culturally Jewish. I never went to synagogue. I never did any of that. I read worldwide philosophies,
Hmm.
religions, and I went, okay. There's something bigger than all of us know because I
Yeah.
don't know what God, the word even means.
Yeah.
An ancient term way back, Allah
Yeah.
and all the others. I know what Christ means light, it's Greek,
Hmm.
Christos,
Christos. Hmm.
right? And the light wave activity creates life here on Earth. We know that. We get that. That's evidential. But when it comes to something bigger, like you're saying, I have no clue what's there other than I have proof that I speak to some information
You tap into something. Yeah.
from outside the earth life. So if somebody's on the other side, I don't know if I'm actually speaking to them or they're sending messages
Hmm.
or it's an imprint that they're giving and leaving. How would I know? I don't run the universe. That's my answer to everything.
Yeah, I know.
For me, I have to very politely say, I'm not interested in you knowing what I believe.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's not appropriate.
Yeah. It doesn't matter really.
No, as long as you are kind and compassionate,
Mhm.
when I don't care what you call yourself, do you live by what you call yourself?
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, some people do care what people, but I don't, like I said, everyone and
That's
anyone is welcome here. If they're an atheist, they're welcome here. It's just whoever's drawn to this needs to be drawn to this. You had mentioned the Princess Doe. What was that? What was that case? That was 5 years. And you think this guy, Reese, also murdered
so
that
yeah,
girl?
it's a really weird and interesting
Oh, we
everything.
like weird and interesting.
I know. So when I found three missing children with Lou Masterbone, he then called me into the task force when they had been on for months trying to identify a body that they had found. They named Princess Doe. Now, the guy I mentioned who John Walsh had gone to,
Hmm.
who was the guy who created the information for the bill to create the missing and exploited children's
NCME. Yeah.
right.
Yep.
He was behind it all.
Okay.
Connections.
Yeah. Wow.
So he went on the task force because of Lou, and Lou called me in because I had worked with him, right? And so I'm in the car with some of them, and there were like seven of us on the task force. And so cars were following cars down a road out west in Western New Jersey. And this is the first kid ever entered in.
Okay. It's NEMAC. Yeah. National Database for the Missing and Exploited Children.
First,
Yeah.
first one, Princess Doe.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. Okay.
So I knew the name, but that's all I knew because I didn't read anything because I was working with police and I had a badge in my town and went to police academy training.
Mm.
So wouldn't touch it. So we're driving, and I said, pull over to this little strip mall. About four stores, maybe, pizza store, and a ShopRite or something next to it, supermarket. I said, well, she went shopping in there, but then she was in here. Okay, so I'm going in here. So they followed me in to the pizza store and they said, what do you want to order? I said, I don't want anything. They said, why are we here? Because he was here with her. And I'm going, what's the matter with all of you? And I'm thinking, stop interrupting me. I'm looking for energy. Don't talk to me. I may have come off rude or may have said it very nicely at that time. I don't know, but I look at it now and I start going, what the heck? I didn't give them any prerequisite for I'm just looking here.
Yeah.
So I quieted down. I saw she was there. I saw she went next door. I saw him there. I said, okay, I'm back. I'm getting in the car. And I said, it's down the road on the right, maybe a quarter of a mile.
Mm.
Stop you. So we drive and I go, stop. It's a cemetery. And I get out and I walk and they follow me. And I go to the far end of the cemetery. Mm, I don't know how to say it, but it's mm, the far end at the end of the cemetery and far to the right. And I looked down at a ravine. I go, her body was found there. And they said, yes, it was.
Oh, wow.
I said, and she had some clothes on. Yes, she did. So we come back, and there was only one thing left that they would allow me to see, which was a little cheap necklace with a cross, simple. And I said, I need to be alone with it. And so I sat in a room they gave me, and I imagined I was talking with her, and she said she ran away and she was not wanted, which is why they couldn't identify her because her family never came forth.
Oh, God. When she went missing?
Mhm.
Oh, that's sad.
Throughout the country. But of
Mm.
course, at that point, the database wasn't in existence.
Yeah.
Got it?
Hmm.
And you didn't have computers. This is way back.
Oh, yeah.
So the work would go out to all the police about the missing child throughout the country, but or runaway possible, nothing. And so when I looked at what I had, I went and imagined I could see what happened to her. Came back to the guys, Captain David Heater and his partner. And I said, there's a guy. He has a Western belt buckle and a scar on the right cheek. I said, his last name is probably Reese, first name John or something, something like that. I said, and there's another guy who, huh, right across from the cemetery, there was a house, and this guy would take in kids, and I believe he may be one of them.
Mm.
That this girl was one of them. Was there a hammer to her head or a stone, something? Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Not okay, but okay. Because I saw it in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just giving them waiting to either hear words, sounds, or just words come to me, or vision, or all of it at once, or a scent of something, anything.
Mm.
However it would come, and I just wait. Open-minded and always having first said, if I am meant to help, then
Hmm. So be it. Yeah.
exactly. If not, okay, I have nothing. So that kept going for a while, and we kept coming back to that. And it was crazy, but they didn't know who John Reese was at the time. They didn't know who, and they said, the man you're talking about does take in teenagers, and we don't know. And then after she was dead, apparently, I think the autopsy showed that they had not found her right away.
Hmm.
Not quite sure. I don't remember all those details at this point, but um, the guy moved almost right away.
Mm.
So I always felt he must be involved somehow.
Okay.
John Reese, definitely. But I knew somebody else was involved, and I don't know who or what unless he saw something and got
Hmm.
scared. Don't know. And several things happened after that, but it took a long time to discover. One, evidence was lost.
Hmm. Yeah,
Happens.
it does.
Yeah. And somebody in Pennsylvania made a sculpting of her face, which was pretty good, but nothing happened even after the registry opened up.
So we
No,
never found out who she belonged to, whose child she was, or
40 years later,
oh wow.
Her name is Dawn Olanta or Olanta. She lived, I think, either Staten Island or Long Island, can't remember, but it's all there. If you look up Princess Di, the whole story is there.
Wow,
It's
amazing.
DNA finally did it, and her brother was at the spoke about her at an event. Her mother threw her out.
Hmm. Wow, that's hard to imagine. That should be
Yeah,
gone so long and nobody really seemed to care. That's
thank you.
really sad.
Well, I don't know that they didn't care psychology.
Hmm.
I know that shame can go very deep and really bind people up
Yeah.
and guilt.
Now, was that man John Reese ever
Question.
indicted for this murder? They never connected the two?
So, when the DNA occurred, a couple in New York somewhere were in, I think they're in prison as serial murderers for young girls. One of them or both confessed that they did it.
Which happens sometimes too, which is so interesting. Yeah. So he never confessed to any other crimes other than that one that he confessed to?
Nope.
So I wonder, do you think he really did that Princess Doe murder, or do you think were you tapping into some future
No, he
existence, some
did it.
future crime?
Okay, so I have to be so careful with this part of it, so bear with me. There was somebody who contacted me, and all I can tell you is trust what I'm saying. This is what happened, but for protecting
Hmm.
another, who gave me details of how she was about 7 years old. John Reese was somebody close to her for whatever reason, and she saw Princess Doe in the same exact, which is not known, um, way of being killed
Hmm.
up in the bedroom of John Reese's where he lived.
Okay. Hmm.
She was so terrified, she moved away and she had seen a documentary. This only occurred a couple of years ago and contacted me, but so terrified she would never come forth anywhere. The nightmares never stopped, anything. And she described the same exact posture that John Reese confessed to killing um, Betty, uh, Elizabeth Kramer.
Okay. Interesting. Huh.
Exact same method, everything, and knew him well
Mm,
for whatever reasons I can't say.
right.
Right. Protection. So, but I know where she lived and who she lived with, all the details of all of them. And yeah, he was a party to it. But murderers like to get together sometimes.
Hmm.
And young girls.
Yeah.
So I know what you said before about how in today's world, we all know. I remember walking with a Detective Ross English, who was the first one I worked with. And one day he said, we ought to walk down the street and anyone who doesn't say hello, we'll just arrest them. They're afraid of us. That means there's something to hide.
Mm,
And then he showed me every cold case ever in the history of Mount Olive.
hmm.
History, hundreds of years of murders, never solved. And I said, you want me to look at it with you? He said, yeah, because I have my own thoughts about, they had photographs, maybe 100 years back, something like that, about unsolved cases. And we worked on every one of them
Hmm.
and compared notes. It was all the same.
So interesting. Are you still contacted presently? Do people still contact you?
Mhm.
Police department? I don't see why they wouldn't. If you have a great track record, it sounds like.
I do. I know that. And I also know that sometimes nothing, or the people can't hear it. So
Well, I mean, back in the day, you're talking about the 70s and 80s. This was not widely accepted. I mean, it's
was not,
no.
except some fun things would, well, I'm thinking of one that's just odd.
Hmm.
Captain David here is a blessing. He was an expert, three-page resume on crash scene events.
Hmm.
All kinds. Every one of the lines was a different certification on crash scene events.
Hmm.
Everything and anything you ever wanted to know, he understood in
He was
detail.
an expert. Yeah.
So I'm still being called in, but I'll get there in a moment. So I was called in somewhere in this country, flew in someplace, and went to a crash scene and told in detail that it was a purposeful rundown of the vehicle by another vehicle. Purposeful. I told why, I told who, etc. And the people who asked me to do it were the family members of the victims
Hmm.
because the police who investigated had said it was he was drunk. I said, no, he wasn't. And I said, why, what? To the family. So we talked. We were there for a couple of days working, and it just the families and myself, and they all agreed, even though at first they were divisive with each other, thinking one killed the other or two, etc. But when they heard everything I put together, they went, that's total sense. Okay, but no evidential proof yet.
Mm-hmm.
So they said, before you leave, we'd like to take you in and speak to the law enforcement agency people. I'm being very careful with this one. You'll
Hmm.
hear why. So I go in and they say, about eight of them are sitting there, men. So what do you have? And so I give them everything. They go, how do you know? I said, it's just what I do. I'm sorry, but this is what, okay, thanks. Bye. And so I walked out. The families looked at me and I said, to be expected. I get on the plane. And because it's a distance for me, I have a spinal disability, so I have to go first class if it's more than a few hours. Otherwise, I can't move.
Hmm.
This is a wheelchair, but I can walk, but I still need it at times. So I'm
Hmm.
very careful. And so I'm on first class, and the guy sits down next to me. We get to talking, and he says, so what do you do? I said, well, I counsel Hemming and hawing. And so he finally gets it out of me. He said, well, what are you doing here? So I tell him, he said, well, what did you think of the police, law enforcement? I said, whew, whew, you really want to know? He said, yeah, I'd love to know. So I tell him in, in no uncertain Brooklyn terms. And I look at him, we're about to leave. And I said, you never told me what you do. Attorney General.
Ah,
And I walked off laughing and go,
well,
good, now you know. Go talk to them.
yeah. Open their minds.
Right. So, and he said, well, what are you doing about it? Was one of the questions. And I said, I'm referring the families to Captain David Heater. He is one of the country's experts on crash scenes. I
Hmm.
bet you he gets the same thing I do. I'm not telling them. And I told them, don't tell him a single word.
Hmm.
Let him just do all of it. He concurred.
Yeah.
I know.
Amazing. Yeah.
I know. So I'm hoping the AG heard us.
Yeah.
It's it's not about being psychic. It's about because I worked with detectives, captains, federal agencies, analysts in federal agencies. Some of them are very psychic.
Hmm.
Surgery, so they couldn't use her. She works there.
Yeah.
And so they contacted me, and I'm going, okay. And they do send people first to investigate who you are. And I go, okay, I know you're looking to see if I'm crazy, psychotic, so ask
Yeah.
Annie.
Right.
And then go have a good lunch and take the day off.
You,
So I get that.
yeah.
Smart people who want things done will attempt, it's no different when getting a diagnosis of something.
Hmm.
Would you want somebody who just tells you you have to do this or nothing else, there's nothing else? Or would you look at every possible
Everything.
path you
Expand.
could take,
Yes.
reverse whatever it is? I mean,
Hmm.
I did. I got off a deathbed once. I
Hmm.
got off of complete paralysis twice on
Mm.
my own, just learning
Yeah.
and using everything I've got and everything anybody else has that is safe. I have my own code of ethics I use. But if you don't, it's like every detective I've ever worked with in any kind of agency, any analyst, anybody, they go say the same thing. If you have no leads or thousands, you don't know what to do. You're lost.
Hmm.
So why not? And funny, it's in the police code to use every tool, even psychics.
Well, it's, you know what amazes me, Nancy, is that so many people believe in the technology that we have these days that can do amazing things at lightning speed, basically defying all tenets of of rational thought that we can't explain, yet they can't believe in a psychic ability. And like, how are you tapping into that?
You know
Um,
why? But think about it. First, AI isn't always correct, which is very funny. I use it, but I also know how you got to check it and check it and check it and know,
research. Yeah.
right? You have to know. Go to Google Scholar. Anybody can go to it. You don't need ResearchGate. You're not a professional. Go there and look up things. But everything you're saying is so true.
Yeah.
It, it's, if you will, black humor
Hmm.
in its own way because we have to understand that psychic simply means soul. So if they translated correctly the Greek word psyche, which meant the whole essence or soul of a being, we wouldn't have this problem
Yeah.
about
There's a huge stigma. It's better now than it was. It's better over the
yeah.
years, with
Oh,
all the
yeah,
shows that
because
have
we
been on.
worked
They're
on.
normalizing it a little bit. There are still some people that I know that are just like,
Oh, a lot of people
how do
still.
they know that?
But on the other hand, it comes from their fear of knowing themselves, nothing else.
Mm,
When I realized that, I stopped taking it personally, and I was giving a talk. I think it was at a Rotary Club or something,
hmm.
and it was local to me, I guess, at the time. And they wanted a case, so we talked about a case because they knew the cases in Jersey where I started. And at the end, they were applauding. One guy gets up and points his hand and goes, "You're from Satan." And I said, "You believe that?" He said, "Yes, I do." I said, "And you believe in Christ?" "Yes, I do." I said, "Then pray for me." And everyone
Perfect.
just cracked up laughing.
Perfect. Yeah. Prayer's always accepted.
Right, prayers accepted.
Absolutely. Well, you say, quote, anyone can use these techniques for improving spiritual
Excellent.
focus and finding solutions in common situations. The practical use of the inner detective, and I love that, my inner detective, the listener of our soul's sacred flow, informs and fulfills our purpose.
Mhm.
So we all have an inner detective. And I think women, I'm going to make a generalization.
Good.
I think women generally are more in touch with it. We're more intuitive. We're the baby. We're in touch with that side of it. It's
Yeah.
okay to be more right-brained than it is left-brained. This is the society we were born into, right? It's a patriarchal society. It has been for the past 3,000 or so years. Things are shifting. Things are starting. I had a dear friend here this weekend, and he had his kind of one of his first experiences. He went to like a psychic, like an hour-long thing where the guy taught him how to do little things, and he read a woman, and he was spot on, and he was so blown away by it and impressed, and it was so fun, and he wants to continue. He wants to learn more about his inner detective, and it's like it's like a muscle. But you say like if I want to get strong, I build up my biceps or whatnot. What do you think about that? Can we deepen our inner detective?
I think people are not used to trusting themselves. It's not about whether you can or not. It's whether you are willing to let go of feeling rejected, feeling not smart, feeling whatever it is that interferes with playful attitude towards self-discovery. It's not a serious business to me. It is the innocence of a child,
Mhm.
even if you were never an innocent child. Doesn't matter. Inside the ancestral DNA of thousands and thousands of years, and maybe hundreds of thousands of years, right? We have the ability to be innocent. And if you don't use that, you're not comfortable with it. So I want you to think of if you went to a beauty salon or anything and said, I would like my haircut to about here. Uh, you would not get used to it right away. You would
No.
walk. and feel weird and, oh, what happened here? And I'm fussing with my hair and, but it's not there anymore. So it's the same kind of discovery if we use it in a playful manner. We won't
Hmm.
be afraid to find out because I've been teaching for 50 years, workshops and classes. So what I find is if I say to them, did you ask yourself? What do you mean? Okay. So let's say you want to get a book on something. And in today's world, you may be scrolling like crazy, or you still like bookstores. Well, years ago, what I did is something anybody can do. I decided I want to learn how to draw on my own secretly and privately. I didn't want anybody to know I don't know how to draw, I can't doodle, I can't do any of it.
Right.
I decided practice what you preach, go inside. So I went to Barnes and Nobles and I stood outside the door first and I said, my body is a magnet.
Hmm.
Belief system, number one,
Yep.
set the belief. Uh, I can find the most spiritually advanced art book for learning how to draw that is fun and easy for me. Thank you. I send it to the universe and
Yep.
I call it sealed in faithfulness,
Mm.
which is the actual Aramaic translation of Amen, sealed in faithfulness.
Mm.
So I did that. I go to the art
I
section
like that.
and I walk and I keep my eyes. I did karate and tai chi, and soft eyes mean you look down, your peripheral vision is much wider that way, by the way. I have peripheral vision of an athlete. I can see back just about here.
Mm.
Right.
You also must have driven in Boston because that's really helpful.
New York City,
In
honey.
New York City.
Oh, wow. So, and I lived there. So, yeah, I did drive. And so I walked, and there were about 3 aisles to walk down. So I stood by the first aisle. I felt nothing. I felt nothing. I waited for a feeling. I'm looking down, casual, so nobody knew what I was doing. I go to the second aisle, and I feel something. Just, it's kind of like a mental tug.
Yep. Very
Okay?
subtle, but you felt it.
Very subtle because you need to be silent, quiet, and
Hmm.
just notice any difference in you from one moment to another.
Right.
So if I feel a difference in that moment, something's going on. Pay
Hmm.
attention. That's it. And so I walk down, looking down and going, magnet, magnet, art book, art book. Stop. About two-thirds of the way down, I stop. My hands are by my side. And because I am shy and I used to embarrass easily, I didn't want anybody seeing what I was doing. It's like, no. And I just stood there and I went and asked inside, inner detective, to the right or to the left? Left. Okay. So even if you don't, Jiminy Cricket arguing,
Hmm.
pick one anyhow. So if it's wrong, so then you pick the other,
Yeah.
right? So it said left. Okay. Low or up? Up. Okay. So I started moving my arm, and before I did, in a detective, is kind of like using a pendulum. If for
Hmm.
those who have ever used one, you program it. So I'm
Yeah.
programming my arm and saying, move my arm where it's needed to find the right book for me. Thank you. It's a demand. It's not an asking.
Yep.
It's not a may I.
You
It's
know it's
not
coming.
I want it or I
Hmm.
hope it will.
Yep.
It's move my arm. It's a direction. And so my arm moves up, 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 and my finger goes out and points. I go, oh, good. And I look and it says, Drawing with the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. And I went,
Wow.
well, that's the perfect title,
That's amazing.
right? So I pull it out and I don't remember whether they opened it or in the back, maybe in the forward, it's she's thanking Dr. Ronald Meyerson. And I'm going, oh my God, you're joking. My first husband's NIH 2-year fellowship, His boss was Dr. Ronald Meyerson on
Mm,
split brain studies. I went, my book.
amazing. Amazing.
Right. But it's calling the universe. I think of it as everything is magnetic, everything is
Yep.
electromagnetic.
Yes.
About all that we know of through all universal life of the Milky Way galaxy, as far
Mm,
as we know, and maybe beyond Andromeda. We don't know all of it. But we do know electromagnetic is what networks everything, and it's why computers were ever built, because this inside is a computer,
hmm
right? And we have software program called the central nervous system.
Right.
So we can program anything we want.
Yeah.
But there's no judgment, and that's what people forget. You're
Mm,
not being judged by the universe.
no, we're
You're
not.
being judged by yourself and by all the thoughts and childhood peer pressure and family pressure or
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
else you have taken of
Teachers,
the
clergy.
ancestral,
Yep. You
right,
name
right.
it.
And all of it and any kind of genetic expressions all
Mm.
come from the same issues. So I have set up a program on everything that I find screwy in me. I change it. Just the
I love it.
program. I go,
I love
okay,
that.
well, that's really crazy, Nancy. You know that, but you're not insane. So you're going to change that and get rid of it now.
Yeah.
So, so I got the book. I went home about 10 o'clock at night after everything is done. My work is done. My kids are fed or whatever. And I bought a little light and a little sketchbook and two pencils. And 3 months later, because I didn't like reading everything, it was so slow and boring to me. Because I'm not good at that.
Mm.
Instructions. I'm not. I know that. It's like, give me just bottom line it, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Summarize it.
Like, show me the pictures. Tell me what to do with them, and
hmm
I'll do it. So I did. And 3 months later, I remember drawing a not a real life scene, but a scene, adorable, like characters. And I'm going, oh my God, that's real. And so then I started doing pen and ink, and I've done probably about 1,000 of them.
Wow.
Scanned in a few hundred, about 300 of them so far, and then paint them on iPad, on Procreate, and put them on cards and put them in all kinds of
Look
things
at
and
that. How creative.
coloring book. And yeah,
Yeah. That's a really nice balance from what you were saying before.
that's why
Balance. Yeah. Accessing that creative side. And I understand that.
you
This
have
whole
to,
scale system that you have.
particularly if you're into math and science. I love science with a
Mm.
passion. I read archaeology, anthropology, everything, history, love it all. Love science, and I love history. However, it's like if they're ever interested, go read two things. Walter Russell by Eugene Clark. The book is The Man Who Tapped the Secrets of the Universe. It's a tiny little book. It's been in print maybe 60, 70 years. I don't
hmm
know. And it's amazing. Or go to YouTube and type in Walter Russell and look, Universal One. In 1927 or so, when he made a lot of the discoveries, way ahead of what we know now, he put it all together well. He wrote The Foundation of Light, a book I have, and it was all about what Chinese medical clock knows. You're on 2 hours high voltage per meridian. We have a 24-hour clock. We have 2 hours per high voltage for each part of the brain, ability with organs, systems, connections.
Mm.
And so he had 5 careers going all at the same time, just like another guy called Lenny Da Vinci.
Ah, Lenny.
Yeah, Lenny.
I
So
love it.
I talked with him. I love,
So you
but
teach a lot of this stuff through your books, through your, I know that you mentioned that you have like
it's
activities and exercises you can do in your books
sure.
so that we can deepen this side of ourselves.
Old Detective has 42 of them because I decided tell everything. Look, if things have worked for some of my most serious issues or other people's serious issues, and we all learn from it, don't we have an obligation to share it with the world and make sure that everybody can help themselves?
Definitely. We do have an obligation. It's
That's a balance
yeah.
between going. I go for help. One of my favorite people I go for help is my chiropractor, Dr. Jersey Wolster.
Mhm.
She is as psychic as they get and intuitive about me as you can get. And the two of us share, share, share. I read her book, she reads mine, and we talk. And I tell her, why aren't you doing podcasts yet? She goes, well, do them now. And so she helps me. I had trouble walking for a little while. One, two, three. She does all kinds of things
Yep.
that are not just chiropractic, because she and I have both been into everything.
Yeah.
And so I pick people to support me, but I also know that you can do plenty on your own, um, because everybody, I truly believe, I don't care what the issue, I don't care what the disability, what the sacred and special need is, a baby or elder, it doesn't matter. I'm 81. I go, go, go.
You're
I play.
81.
I'm 81. I can't
Wow.
wait to see what happens later.
I love it. I had, wow, you do not, you know this, but you do not look, seem, or act like you're
Yeah.
81. That's amazing.
No, no, it isn't. It's because I refuse to let anything
Mhm.
teach me that the world is very dark and scary and gray.
Yeah,
I already know there's a part of it that is.
sure.
My view is light,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
My view is I'm given a life, so use it well and do whatever you want. Love what you do what you love, never sell out a part of your soul in any sense of the word at
mhm.
all. Or if you find you did, change it.
There he is. You're quoted as saying, we all need to shine our light so others can find their way out of the dark.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's the hermit in the tarot, right?
Yeah.
The hermit climbs up the mountain, mountains all over the place. He can now fly to any other. He knows how to get there. It's like going on Kilimanjaro. Once you've gone there, you can go anywhere else, or Pikes Peak, or wherever you go. And then you know it. It's that climb up. But what do you do once you can do that? The
Hmm.
Sherpas know they help others get there.
Help others. Yep.
So we want everybody to. So the hermit takes the light and doesn't go and use it for themselves. They use it for others. So once you know it's all about carrying the light strong enough to say, you have the light too. What are you doing with yourself?
Yeah. I love this.
Okay, right. Love
So
it.
see, this is what I mean. So here we are talking to someone who helps, rapists and murderers go to jail through
Yes,
your gift, but yet we're talking about light and bettering ourselves. And
the
I'm
point.
improved by your company today. Nancy, you truly do shine light on darkness, not only with your gifts as a psychic medium and all the other things that you are, but you're also your love of humanity and of teaching of others. And I think that's beautiful.
Of squirrels, I love, and chickens, I love, and deer, and birds. Are you kidding?
Mm.
Why wouldn't we love everything, even the ones I don't like?
Right.
I don't want a friend as a snake, thank you.
No.
I love the soul of every one of them
Hmm. I don't
because
want to cuddle up next to one of them, though.
I'm not all for that. My husband would and
Really?
has. And I go, you ever bring them in, you're going to live out in that shed that you made.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So, but I believe justice, divine light, is truly about love of life itself, and that each of us has to know we are a sacred gift. And the more we know we're a sacred gift, we do good things in the world.
Mm.
So thank you, plumbers. Thank you, people who repair everything.
Hmm.
Thank you. I mean, I'm blessed with a husband who can fix anything, anywhere, anytime.
You are blessed. Yes, that's very
I know
handy.
that, but I didn't have that before.
Uh-huh.
After a long time until him, and now he won't let anybody do anything except him. So, but justice and divine light are really about internal events because the courts only do what they can.
That's
They
right.
limit.
There are two kinds of justice, and I talked about it on my two previous shows that there's the founders created our court of law, and it works well. It's not perfect, but there also is divine justice. There's another that a lot of people believe when you cross over, there's a justice that happens, and it's very important to us. Justice is more important than people realize, and I spoke about that in my debut show. And I think I've always been really passionate about truth with the capital T. I
Mm.
don't like a lot of BS. I don't like people who aren't authentic. It brings out the Scorpio side of me. Like if someone's not real or authentic, I have like a little Scorpio rising. I just learned that a little while ago.
Oh,
Um, and so and everyone gets to be the way they are, but we don't have to like everything about it. So,
No,
you know,
judge the actions.
yeah,
That's why I like putting people away. I've, I'm
I
sorry,
like putting people away.
do. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I was
Oh,
asked,
yeah. There's got to be a satisfaction to that.
oh, tremendously,
Huge.
um, on those, but also on small things or not small because everybody counts.
Yeah, right. No, it's
Everybody
true.
counts. It didn't matter. I saw a kid hitting a dog that
Oh,
wasn't his, that was a neighbor
mm,
long ago. And I picked up the phone and I said, if you're smart, you're going to get right over here now. And he came over. I said, sit your ass down.
yeah.
I'm an SPCA agent. I also work with the police and have a badge. What the hell do you think you're doing?
Wow.
And he looked at me and I had music on in the background. He goes, I don't know that song. It was a rock song. I said, I wrote it. He goes, you wrote it? I said, you to know I do understand. But your anger at the world because of such and such does not give you permission to take it out on the
And the
innocent.
lesser ones. Mm-mm.
Right. So you do that ever again, you're going to find yourself in prison
Yeah.
because I will even put drugs in your house. I can and have you arrested, and they'll believe me, not you.
Oh my,
So own it now.
put the fear of God in that little boy.
Yeah, well, that's what sometimes it takes. I
Yeah.
worked in the South Bronx. I knew you talk their language or they don't hear you.
Yeah, right.
So talk their language. It was so easy. No,
You are small but mighty, Nancy.
I am not small.
It's been a joy getting to know you. Like I said, I literally just when I started doing the show, I'm like, I want to have a psychic detective on, and all I did was search. All I did was search, and you were the first person I reached out to. And lo and behold, look at we have these connections. The words that you have on your website and your books mirror what we're talking about here with light and sacred. You even use the word sacred flow. So I have to trust that my intuition drew me to you
I
to
think so.
have you on here. And I hope that any listeners will click on the link, buy her book, go to her other Amazon books and take a look.
I need to send to you some other people, including Noreen Rainier, if she's willing to come on.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, let's talk about that off stage for sure. I would love, I know I was thinking you would be a plethora of knowledge and information of people that you think might want to have a conversation.
Sure.
So,
Happy.
thank you so much for being here and for sharing your light and your energy. And I want to thank everyone watching for being here as well. Please tune in. I do have this gentleman, Richard. We haven't scheduled it yet, but he will be coming on. The gentleman whose son was murdered, trying to save someone from being murdered, and a lot of other people lined up. So it's gonna be fun to see where this takes us. But thank you for coming along for the journey. Please like and subscribe. Hit the little notification bell. You know how that all works. And we'll see you next time here on Sacred Justice Podcast. I'm Tara Blooms. Have a good day. So I wait a few seconds because what I've learned is